Hi friends, and welcome to today's Tuesday travel vlog, where every Tuesday I post a new video about the cool things that I've done and the fun places that I've been as I travel across country in my RV. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell icon so you can get notified of all of my videos. Today's Tuesday travel vlog comes to you from the Ark Encounter in Williamstown, Kentucky. Now, I'm not going to discuss the religious views that come along with the Ark Encounter. Everybody has their own religious views, philosophies. So if you're here for a religious discussion, this video is not for you. But if you want to know what it's like to visit the Ark Encounter, including the prices, the building, the activities, what you would find here, then stay tuned as I travel along back to biblical times of Noah's Ark. So let's start with, what is the Ark Encounter? Straight from their website, so they describe themselves as a family-friendly Ark Encounter theme park. So it is not a museum, it is a theme park. And that's what I want to go into with this mentality. The first thing to note is that there is a parking fee. For a normal vehicle, it's $15 to park. For an oversized vehicle, it's $20. You then can purchase your tickets. When I was there, an adult ticket was about $65. Children is about $30. It is pricey to get in. If you are bringing a large family, keep that in mind. Once you buy your tickets, they then shuttle you out to the theme park area itself. As the building starts to show up in the distance, I admit it is much bigger than I ever expected. If you read the story of Noah, it clearly describes that the dimensions of the ark should be built in cubits. So what is a cubit? A cubit is the distance between your elbow and your finger. So of course, it's not standardized because everybody is different. There is what's known as a royal cubit, and the royal cubit adds the width of your fingers to that measurement. And the royal cubit is what they used to build this building. This building currently stands at 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 15 feet high. It's only the front side of the building that is fully shaped like an ark. The back side is more of a building structure. The building is 3 decks high. You do have to use a large ramp to get into the building, and as you're walking in, there are sounds of thunder and animals. So the atmosphere really kind of draws quite into that theme park mentality. It is an impressive building. I will start with that. I loved the woodwork that was involved with this. I loved how it's structured. The intricate details of the building, the architecture of the building is quite stunning. And I think that was probably the thing I enjoyed the most out of my entire stay here. The very first thing that you come along is a sign that talks about artistic license. So I give the Ark credit for putting this right up front. So what kind of artistic licenses did they take here? The first one they clearly spell out is, what did the animals look like? So they take artistic license on what animals, and they use the term kind, they don't use species. So in this ark, they would say something is of the bear kind, and that would include all different species. So the theory here is that while Noah took 2, a male and a female, they only took them of a kind, not necessarily every species. So one of the artistic license they take is, what did these animals look like even under the evolutional theory that animals may have looked differently back then. One of the biggest liberties they take is that they clearly say, we don't know what Noah really looked like. We all have our ideas, they have theirs, fine. The story of Noah mentions his wife, but never by name. So they clearly spell out that while we don't know Noah's wife's name, so we just gave her one. So they've made up all the names of all the women, not only Noah's wife, but his son's wives as well. So these are all made up. They've also taken some artistic license on what the ark itself may have looked like on the inside. But I give them credit for coming right out front and saying, we made some of this up because nobody knows for sure. And that's accurate. Nobody knows for sure. The first floor, this is their storage area. This is where most of the animals would have been kept. It talks about the different animals that you may have found on the ark, including ones that they presume to be extinct, such as certain dinosaur kinds. They showed what it may look like to have held small animals such as insects. They also indicate that many of the animals that Noah may have had on the ark are now extinct, and that many animals that we have today are descendants of the breeding of different kinds of animals that came from the ark. When they talk about the animals on the ark, they also talk about how Noah and his family could have cared for so many animals. If you've got 8 people on the ark, how are they caring for these animals in terms of food and water and waste? It's a valid question to explore. As you walk up to the ramp, it takes you to what pre-flood world may look like. If you read the story is that man had become evil and was sinful, and Noah was good and righteous. So that's why they chose Noah to build this ark, and that God was going to flood the world to rid of the evil mankind. Now, again, I'm not talking religion here. This is just straight from the story. Take your interpretation as you please. This is just a background for the ark itself. A lot of artistic license here, and they do have that written, that the remainder of this exhibit presents an artistic representation of what that world may have been like. What we may consider as sin today may not have been sin before. So again, not getting into any sort of discussion as to what sins may or may not have been. But I will admit that the artwork that you find here is just stunning. Even if it is interpretive, it is beautiful to look at. I was quite impressed with a lot of the different paintings and artwork that you could find along the way. You then move up into the third deck, and the third deck from their website includes a plausible living quarters. Again, because nobody would know, it's not written what their living quarters looked like, so it's all what it could have been. There's also a whole section that takes you through now post-flood, the different areas of the world, and it talks about how the word of the Bible was spread after the flood, and the people that may have carried that word, such as Ernest Shackleton and Hudson Taylor. There is a whole section on flood legends, talk about how other cultures may view this story, such as the Peruvian culture, the Nordic culture. Everybody has their own interpretation of what happened. That was interesting to be able to look at this story from other cultures' ideas. Also on the third floor, you'll find a whole exhibit of what they call One World, Two Views. Now, this is where they tell you clearly what their beliefs and their views are. So this is not the artistic license part. This is what the Ark and those who created the Ark believe, such as the thought that the Grand Canyon was not indeed formed slowly by a river that may have over millions of years carved out this beautiful, fantastic canyon. So their theory is that the Grand Canyon was formed by the flooding, and other such theories that show how this world was shaped and formed post-flood. And it finishes with a whole section that they title, Can We Trust the Bible? Getting out was a whole nother thing. I couldn't find the exit. They tell you to go all the way down to the bottom. The exit's through the gift shop. There's more than one gift shop in this building. I could not find the exit, and I was just, please, somebody, let me out. Also in this theme park, you can find other attractions such as a playground, virtual reality, plenty of places to eat and sit. This place is huge. And in the very far back section is a zoo. The zoo was cute. The zoo is fun. It's not very big. They do have a kangaroo encounter where you can walk in. If they get close enough, they let you pet them. They have alpacas and llamas, and a petting area. A petting area where you can pet goats and sheep. I can't resist the ability to pet any sort of animal, or just have a lot of fun watching this one try to get food from his enrichment. This attraction is very popular. People from all over the world travel here just to see this Ark Encounter. And because of that, it's quite crowded. Now, some people have said that they could spend up to 6 hours here. I think in total, I was here maybe 2.5 to 3 hours. There were so many people. When you come up a ramp and you turn to get to the exhibit, there's just a long bottleneck of people standing in line to see the exhibits. So I have to admit, there were some that I skipped because I didn't feel the need to stand in line to see some of this. I honestly felt that I could not get out of this arc fast enough. Between the number of people, the rhetoric, it's not really well displayed in a lot of areas. Take this, for example. There is one display that talks about how the sons of Noah and their wives, with, again, made up names, would have traveled to different areas of the earth post-flood, such as Africa or Europe or the Middle East, and from there they began the lines of different genealogy because you could tell by the way they looked. Again, it's not described anywhere how they look. Right next to that is a sign that tells you this, artistic license, and it says, again, we don't really know what these people looked like, we don't know the women's names, but this is what we think. Since we don't have a time machine, we can only make educated guesses about the looks, skills, and personality of each individual. A lot of people don't stop to read a lot of that. So they look at these beautiful artwork, they look at the fun displays, and take it for the gospel. This is a theme park. Many people there do not take it as one. That's the problem with this place. This is like going to Disney and believing that fairy tale princesses and dragons and mice and talking ducks exist. You are welcome to think what you want, and anything I say is not going to change anybody's mind, and I'm not here to do that. I just want to talk about how there is so much interpretation, there is so much artistic license, there's so much rhetoric that it's really hard to cut through that to what may be in the story or what may have actually really happened, if you even believe that this whole story was true. I did not enjoy that part of it. I enjoyed very much the building itself, the architecture, the woodwork, the design of it. It's huge. It was interesting to read about other people's point of view. It's interesting to see what other people might think. I'm glad that I went. By the time I got to the third floor, I had enough. I do appreciate you traveling along with me. Thanks for visiting the Ark Encounter with me today. Be sure to check out all my other videos, and I will see you next Tuesday.